The town of Barnstable's future is bright with these young people in our community. Channel 18 brought you stories of our youth on the beach, on the ball field, and in our schools. Enjoy our best of 2018 youth.
It doesn't help though.
They've been going really well. We've luckily had beautiful weather. This weekend was awesome. It was really great to see a lot of fathers bringing their kiddos out for Father's Day, and there's plenty of clams out there. We really loaded it up this year, so over 45 bushels. So it should be pretty easy for the kiddos to find the clams too. And we've seen a lot of happy faces, so it's always fun. It's been really good this year so far. We dig other propagation areas where the quahogs are planted very densely, and then we'll use this area to spread them around and give it a more natural feel. Somewhere that, you know, there's a good parking area here and a lot of people can walk. So we try to bring the clams closer to the people and make it easier for them to access them. So we just loaded up the area, flew the clams off the boat, and it's great. So people are really finding them pretty easily this time. Yeah, so for a resident, we have a resident permit that's $40, and that's good for the entire year. And you can get a full peck of quahogs, a full peck of steamers. You can get a full peck of mussels on top of that. So really great. It opens up the doors for all your shellfish needs. So $40 for a resident permit, then you can pick up at our office at Marine Environmental Affairs. We also have non-resident permits for $140, and it may seem like a lot, but with all the shellfish that you can get for it, it's totally worth it. Especially, it's good through oyster season too. So in November you can get a half peck of oysters, and that's about 40 to 50 oysters. So yeah, come on down, get your permit. It's open to everyone. And we're even trying to find places for non-residents to park because we know that's been an issue. So we're really working on that to be able to bring more people down to the landing and get their own food. We've had so much success with the clamming class for kids that adults are trying to sneak into our class too, which is absolutely fine. The more the merrier, you know, it's really great. But it is a little different teaching a kid than teaching an adult. So these classes will be geared more towards adults, but kids are obviously welcome. Anyone can come by. We're gonna have more on recipes, more on how we regulate the shellfish. So sizes are very important. Some of the key regulations.
We're at Craigville Beach for the 44th annual Cape Cod Life-Saving Competition. Certainly, it's a real privilege to be here with all these teams. There's 150 lifeguards here, 10 teams, 9 from the Cape and 1 from Maine. There's such a wonderful representation of each of our communities and what they do and how they interact, both serving as, in the more extreme case, a first response to an emergency situation, but in general just interacting with our residents and our visitors and representing all of us. And I'm just proud of them. This is one of my favorite days as a resident and certainly as a municipal employee, and I look forward to it. I hope they have a great competition today.
I am proud. I'm proud of the staff. Barnstable staff that helped put this all together. John Gleason and Timmy, the three of us have been meeting for months and months to prepare for this. It doesn't just happen. Just the understanding for the residents and the people in that community to understand what it takes to be a lifeguard. So it was a big challenge, and they decided that in order for people to see and get to witness this, and for other lifeguards to communicate with each other so they could share stories, share issues, and be able to progress the lifeguarding industry along. That's what helps. This is what helps.
So we've got running events, swimming events, and paddling. We actually just finished a 4x400 co-ed swim relay where they swim out 200 yards, swim around a buoy, come in. We had a 4x1 mile run relay earlier. Then we've got a couple different events where we combine running, swimming, and paddling.
Well, it just brings them together, and they're able to show off their skills to the other lifeguards on the Cape and the one team from Maine, and also show the community that's here, you know, what kind of skills they have and what they're capable of. It's just a great team bonding event, and then also to talk to other lifeguards from other areas and see what their challenges are, and you know, kind of just work through some things. So, you know, if they see that situation, then they can handle it. So it's a great time to mix and mingle and compete.
There's a lot more to it, but today they get to see the fitness challenge, a part of it, which is pretty intense.
Did the co-ed paddle sprint relay, so I sprinted a quarter mile and my partner paddled, I think it was 400 yards.
Primarily supposed to be like kind of a fun event, but you know, we are still like competitive. We always try to win, and so like we all just kind of come together, try to have a good time and do our best, and at the end of the day, as long as we had a good time, it's all that matters really.
The Barnstable Youth Commission held its 4th annual 7th grade Youth Summit on Friday, March 16th. Barnstable Intermediate School students convened at Cape Cod Community College for an all-day event, which included peer leadership sessions, interactive lectures on how to cope with stress and peer pressure, and a vendor fair in the cafeteria. We spoke with Caleb Sonnabend, Vice Chair of the Barnstable Youth Commission, and others about the importance of an event like this, challenges students face, and ways everyone can get involved to impact change.
We view this as a critical time for 7th graders. So as they're moving into high school, they'll experience a lot of new things. Barnstable is a little different from most school systems as we have 8th graders moving to high school. So we definitely view it as a critical time to kind of show them what they might be experiencing in the high school and give them opportunities and help they can receive in the high school and beyond. Here at the moment we have several care facilities here, as well as high schoolers that they can act as resources when they're in the high school. And we have people who will kind of give them a little bit of insight as to what they may or may not experience in the high school.
I'm going to make sure I'm drama-free and make sure I have a good community around me.
Pretty much all the youth in this area to get an opportunity to learn and see some of the actual consequences of some actions. Like choose who you want to surround yourself with and make the right decision. Probably like read people more, like see how they act and see like if they're the right people to surround myself with.
I feel like it's really important because we get to learn about drug abuse and how to cope with it and how to understand, because it's not just don't do drugs. We can understand really more about it. We saw that peer pressure was used a lot, and they taught us how to kind of cope with peer pressure and how to just not just follow everybody and go your own path.
Like media and other influencers, they make our decisions kind of, and it's good to know what you like and what your decisions are.
The biggest challenge for them is life in general. What I mean by that is, they have, and I'll use an example, when I was younger, didn't have social media, didn't have cell phones, didn't have all this outside stuff, and we were kids, and we grew up, we had fun, that's what it's all about. Now it's almost like a competition, you gotta be better than the next person, at such a young age. But it shouldn't be like that. Kid needs to be a kid and have fun and grow up, but because of social media, they see all this stuff that, oh, I got to be better than that, or I got to be like this. There's a lot of more pressure on younger kids. That's the biggest challenge. How do we help that? Well, as adults, we got to put them on the right path and teach them, hey, be you. Be yourself. You don't have to be the next person. You don't have to do everything everybody else is doing. That's just social media. It's not real. Just continue to be who you are and be true to yourself, because in the long run, as you get older, the only one that's going to help you really is you. So there's people in the community, and such a great community we have here in the Cape, that there's people out there that care. Adults, and more than their parents, whether it's the police, the school, which is huge, been huge in this, and also just people, a little bit older, high school kids are there for them, and it's somebody else to reach out to. Because a lot of kids, it's mom and dad. I don't want to talk to the police officer because they're scary. But by us being here and by other people being here, it's not so scary. It's making it a little bit easier for them. Like Officer Brian or, Officer Sonbet or Officer Johnson, they're not too bad to go talk to. They're just regular people doing a job. So it's the biggest thing they're getting out of this. It's just that there's knowledge, first of all, of the dangers of drugs, and it's not all glorified like they see on social media and on television, that there's real danger to it. And the other thing, that there's people out there to help them.
Having an event like this really helps give the kids a sense of community, so they're able to find out that, sometimes their thoughts, they're not alone. So now we're able to see certain similarities, and also I think the main purpose is that we're able to give them the tools that they need to help making smart choices. I think when it comes to don't do drugs and that kind of thing, that's great. But when you're dealing with life, it's like, what's the alternative? So now we have to look at giving those types of skills, coping skills, things like that. So that way when they are in certain situations, they know how to make the best choice for them. I think from here, when they leave, they need to be proud of who they are and what they're doing. And then what type of steps are they going to go back to their school to help show other students that they're making the right choices and to get other people to buy in. That's how you can make that change.
I think a lot of the challenges are a lot of peer pressure. We've always had peer pressure, but it's that level of where do I fit in, and just nobody wants to talk to me, or I'm on my phone. So the social skills are deplenished. It's just not as strong as it was because nobody else communicate. The parents aren't talking to the kids got their own, and we're all guilty of being on the phones and doing little words with friends or trying to communicate with each other, and you don't realize it, but next thing you know, your kid's in bed. And then you go to bed. You get up in the morning and you keep going. So it's like you have to put that time aside and just talk to your kids and find out what their day's like, what their likes are. And maybe you'll find out some more stuff about yourself that you didn't realize also. Communication's huge. There are outreach programs. There's different places that they can go and talk to, or just, some kids might want to do sports. So we have to flag football, and the parents are like, no, violent, but it's not about that. It's just getting them out into the community and getting them to learn a little bit more about themselves and stuff that they didn't realize they could do.
I think number one, it shows how much the town of Barnstable cares for its youth. When you've been in education as long as I have, 34 years, I've gone to my share of funerals of students who've died of overdoses, students who've died in drunk driving car accidents. I've gone to over 20 funerals in my 34 years, and I think an opportunity like this is so that younger teachers than I do not have to go to these funerals, that we care so much about these kids. We're trying to make it clear the potholes in the road up ahead. I think in today's world, you see students dealing with so many people in their own sphere who are wrestling with addiction, that these students need support to know they're not alone, to know how to handle the pressures they're faced with, to know how to avoid some of these temptations that could be coming their way. Some of these students, they know the score, but they also need to know ways to push on through. Everyone knows there are sad times in this world, but there's also so much good in this world. Good people, good experiences, futures that are worth living, and that's what these students have to always, always keep in mind, that no matter how tough the present could be for some of them, the future could just be beautiful.
This fall, Matt Shifley, the principal of this building, had a meeting with myself, Beth Ann Orr, and our Gateway personnel as well to talk about his vision for this space. So he'd heard of makerspaces, he included it in his school improvement plan. Wasn't really sure what that was going to look like. And so he and I had worked together previously. I was in his building, and he said to me, I want to turn this into a makerspace, what do you think? And we walked into this space, and it was kind of a storage classroom, if you would, hadn't been used. So everything under the sun was in here, couldn't see the walls, and needed a little TLC. And I looked at it, and I just started walking around, and in my brain I started to envision what I thought it might look like. Makerspaces were somewhat new to me, so I just dug deep into research, found some great resources, and drew a very quick crayon drawing. Brought it into him and transformed into what you see now.
So I think the first step with the makerspace right now is to get our children in and see what ideas our students come up with. And my hope would be that they would be communicating in the regular classroom with their teachers after their experiences here in the makerspace, and maybe generate some ideas that the teachers could bounce off of myself or Mrs. White, our technology educator. And you know, we've got a nice space in here where we have just behind you a wall that says things I'd like to learn and make or do. And I'm one of the things that we learned, Kim and I, when we did our visits to some of the maker spaces in the area, was that the children actually become the driving force, and the adults found that the ideas that they had weren't necessarily the direction that the children wanted to go. And what the common theme that we heard in our research was don't lose sight of what children want to do and learn, and you're going to go further with it because the motivation's going to be there for them to explore their ideas. So I'm hoping that's the chain that will, you know, the chain of events that will occur and help us make this space something that the children really want to be a part of.
Initially, we had applied to the Barnstable Education Foundation for a grant, and that intent of those monies was to try to change the cosmetic look, if you would, to make it look not like a traditional classroom. So pretty much for paint and some repairs generally to the walls and a couple other areas of the room. And as we were initiating that process, we were approached and offered the opportunity to speak to the Cobb Fund. And so we did a presentation to Cobb Fund, and they very generously gave us a $10,000 grant to enable us to really transform this space into what you see now.
So right now, that's kind of my next steps as I'm a big idea person. So when this started, I actually thought this would be up and running, in February, and like any, say, home improvement project, there's steps that have to go along the way. And one of my strengths is I tend to have the big idea, and Mrs. White is absolutely incredible at the details. So I have to give her props for this. So our next steps, I am looking to start developing outside relationships within the community. It's one of the strategic objectives of the district is to develop outside partnerships. I'm currently reaching out to Cape Cod Community College. I would love to get in touch with some of the other maker spaces in the area and see if there's resources that they have that can support some of the ideas that our students are generating. I think it's really exciting to have a maker space at this area because there's not a lot in the elementary level right now, so we're kind of on the pioneering end, I feel like, with children this age. So it'll be very interesting to see the shape and direction it goes. But outside partnerships, I think, are going to be an important part. I would love to see parents, with electronics experience, because we've got some nice electricity stuff and circuitry stuff that we can use here. We've got the sewing center, and I think there's got to be people out there who would love to share their talents and support children in learning how to sew and learning how to make things from that perspective. And I know at Cape Cod Community College we have a robotics program that is somewhat tied to this school because when we had 4th grade here, I had developed a relationship with Mr. Rick Bashara, who's over there teaching robotics, and that started over here at Centerville with him and I running some robotics when we had some older children here. So I'm looking forward to developing those next relationships with people.
Students are going to come here and they're going to struggle with problems. It's a mindset shift, and that's going to be our biggest challenge. It's not a space where an entire class comes and replicates a project. It's a space where students come in smaller groups, work collaboratively, teachers identify a problem, ask them some questions, allow the students to struggle through that problem-solving philosophy, try something with a prototype, figure out what doesn't work, fix it, and then come up with their end product. All of these areas encourage collaboration. So a student could come and work independently, of course, but more importantly is that collaborative feeling. When you go into the real world, very rarely are you isolated in a job. You have to learn to work with people. You have to learn to compromise. You have deadlines. So this mindset in this space has been designed to foster and encourage that.
Thank you. It felt phenomenal to have a grandson, but I feel that these are all my grandsons. These kids, they work so closely together. They played so well together. They supported each other. It was for a man my age, this was truly one of the most exciting things I've ever seen. And I played a lot of sports, but not as good as these kids played in these tournaments. They were phenomenal.
BG.
BG.
All Nats.
All Nats.
Ace.
Ace.
Rocket.
Rocket.
Sparky.
Sparky.
Sleigh Dog.
Sleigh Dog.
Hey Woo.
Hey Woo.
Murph.
Put your arms down, Murph. That's my son.
The Hammer.
Okay, what position did you play?
Third base.
What position did you play?
Center. Right field.
And you?
Second base.
Second base. Ah.
I was a pitcher and third base. Catcher.
Catcher, yeah.
Center field.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Center field.
That's what I thought you said.
First base.
First base.
Left field.
Left field.
Catcher.
Oh, we had two catchers. No wonder we won.
Right field.
Right field. But each one of them played their part. Every single one of them. They're all stars.
What was your favorite part about the championship? Celebrating it with my teammates. Your favorite part of the championship? Partying. What's your name? Finbar. What's your favorite part of the championship? Silly string. What's your name? Brandon. What's your favorite part of the championship? Winning. Winning it.
These kids love playing together. They've been playing together for a couple years now, so there's just great chemistry, and it was a long season, but it was fun. I mean, the kids had fun, played hard, worked hard. Every game was different, putting kids different positions, but they all had fun learning different positions and playing different positions. So just a great time and a great year. So.
Sladen, what was your favorite part to the road to the championship?
In the state finals, Grady double play, got us fired up.
I liked in the the district championship, the dancing in the middle when all the lights went out.
Finbar's catch when he jumped up.
Haywood, what was your favorite part to the road to the championship?
Winning it with my teammates.
Daniel, what was your favorite part to the road to the championship?
Having fun with my teammates and just cooperating with them.
Okay. Caden, what was your favorite part to the road to the championship?
Having fun with my teammates.
Well, I think most of it is due to the phenomenal coaching staff that they had, and I mean phenomenal. They worked with these kids. A kid would come off the field, they'd pull them aside, talk to them. They worked with them, but the kids loved working with the coaches. And it was just a happy family and a respectful family. They respected each other, they respected the coaches, and they respected their families that watched, that showed up every single game. And sometimes it was cold.
I think we just kept them focused on one game at a time. Not thinking about the next game, just one game at a time. Let's go give 100%. We kind of went by every game, 100%, 6 innings. That was kind of how we pushed them and got them excited. And we had Tarbox and Murphy getting the kids excited in the dugout, bringing the enthusiasm. And but that's how we just kind of went about it, just one game at a time. And just win this one, and we'll see what the next one brings.
My favorite part of the season was the state championship.
Jack, what was your favorite part of the season?
Ooh, yeah, man.
Hitting the ball.
Eric, what was your favorite part of the season?
When I got an inside the park home run. Winning it all and having a nice time.
Chris, what was your favorite part of the season?
Winning the states and celebrating the New England championship.
Daniel, what was your favorite part of the season?
Winning.
Caden, what was your favorite part of the season? Winning.
I would say the first one was in the state championship when we were up 2-0, and they began to get some momentum, and we made a double play. Grady at shortstop caught a rocket coming off the bat, flipped it, and we turned the double play, and it stopped the momentum, and then we were able to get 3 more runs in and put that game away. And then going into the New England's, it was just coming off, getting the bats going. Once the kids, I think, started hitting, our defense was always pretty much there, but once they started hitting, it was a matter of time when they started getting on base. We knew that, once they opened it up, there was no stopping them. So just one game at a time, and once they started scoring runs, it's hard to stop them.
Yeah, we're very proud of these guys, and they went all the way and beat a lot of teams pretty handily.
I would say teamwork and unity, playing together and working hard. I think probably the biggest takeaway would be with hard work, you can accomplish anything, because that's what they did. They worked hard every game, every practice. They just worked hard, and it paid off.